After over a century of expansion across the galaxy, the concept that we are not alone in the universe struck most humans as if it were a runaway comet. We are not considering underdeveloped races such as the Antipodes or the Helots here. We are talking about ancient civilizations that span countless star systems and possess overwhelming military might. First, it was the alien ruins found on Paradiso, the cosmolites, and that stirred our collective curiosity which had been dormant for ages. This spark of inquisitiveness was a clarion call to the evolved intelligence, the ruthless alien AI that rules the Ur Hegemony with an iron fist. The Ur is a vast empire bent on a quest for transcendence, an evolutionary leap into what could be described as divinity. This search could also lead to discovering answers in the ruins found on Paradiso. And as it happened, the combined army, the military branch of the Ur Hegemony, landed on that planet, and the human sphere had to set aside all internal and external quarrels to present a united front and prevent Paradiso from falling into their hands. However, the combined army was not the only visitor that our awakening brought to our shores. The Tohaa trinomial, an alien civilization that had been waging a war of attrition with the hegemony for decades, landed on Paradiso as well. Since the Tohaa were the enemy of our enemy, it should have been easy to forge an alliance with them, but things like that are never simple. This species was looking for the same thing as the EI, Tzeki Digester, an alien device of unknown origin that records history and contains the mysteries of countless extinct civilizations from all over the universe. For the Tohaa, protecting these digesters is the driving principle of their civilization, for they are convinced that at some point in the future they will be rewarded by the all-powerful creators of these artifacts. In contrast, the EI believes that the secrets of the digesters are waiting to be plundered by those who know how to profit from them. Those conflicting viewpoints led to a never-ending war that is now ravaging planet Paradiso and transformed it into yet another battlefront, trapping humankind in between these two vast, alien powers. The discovery of one of these digesters hidden in a cosmolite, alien structures scattered deep in the jungles of Paradiso, triggered an attack by a cell of the Tohaa triumvirate. This is a powerful shadow group that will protect the digesters by any means necessary, then extract the knowledge within them in order to advance the Tohaa race. The digester was secured by Achilles and his steel phalanx, then brought to the sanctuary at the Penny Arcade, a top-secret research facility. But this bold move only made the EI and the triumvirate shift their focus of attention from Paradiso to the core of the human sphere. In the years that followed, the combined army carried out various infiltration missions in the human sphere using large-scale diversions, such as the assault on Wotan, the jump gate that connects Paradiso and Svalaheimer. The forces of the EI also took advantage of the chaos resulting from the uprising, when the Japanese nation fought for its independence from Eugene and became a new minor but thriving power to consolidate their beachheads on planets Dawn and Svalaheimer. However, their greatest incursion came with the so-called Third Offensive on Paradiso, when they conquered a good portion of territory and captured precious positions such as the Teutonic Order's Fortress Monastery of Strelsau and the space elevator of Gezira. One of the actions of this Third Offensive with the heaviest repercussions was the destruction of the Daedalus Gate, which connected Paradiso to the Tohaa systems. Due to this action, the Tohaa forces found themselves stranded and isolated in the human sphere. Nonetheless, this vile deed was not perpetrated by the combined army, but by the Tohaa triumvirate, with the aim of encouraging a gracious attitude toward an increased Tohaa presence within the human sphere, which would then allow them to pinpoint the possible location of the Penny Arcade. Humanity was in dire straits. and things weren't getting better for around that time, the Defiance made its return. It was an experimental spaceship engineered to travel through the Acheron wormhole and take the fight to the Ur Hegemony, carrying out sabotage and gathering first-hand intel on the combined army's plans and true capabilities. Regrettably, their crew members' warnings about a whole fleet that was prepping for an invasion were not heeded because it was assumed that the attack would be launched through Acheron, which was very difficult to navigate and was well defended. A serious miscalculation, since that fleet was just the tip of the iceberg in the overarching schemes of the EI. Several Shasvasti ghost ships managed to sneak through the abyss gate from Paradiso to Human Edge and established a secret base on an asteroid colony known as Novyy Bangkok, with the purpose of infiltrating hardware and supplies into the Concilium system. Their main plan was to deploy a warp stabilizer at the location of a wormhole that would be known as Cerberus, thus connecting Concilium to a star system ruled by the Ur Hegemony, where their huge fleet was gathering. Even though the Shasvasti infiltration in Novyy Bangkok was eventually detected and the entire Concilium system was being patrolled, humankind's response was not coordinated enough, and it came too late. The Shasvasti engineers succeeded in opening the wormhole, which triggered the so-called Cerberus Crisis. The combined army fleet surged through the wormhole, hurtling toward Concilium Prima, despite taking heavy casualties. They smashed through O-12's defenses, establishing a beachhead at Helheim. The invasion of Concilium had begun, and every attempt to repel the combined army proved unsuccessful. Shasvasti spies discovered that the Penny Arcade was hidden on Concilium Prima, and the EI was relentless in the hunt for its prize, the Tzeki Digester. Even though its exact location wasn't known, the EI's forces advanced relentlessly through the territory of Durgama while they controlled the Raven Eye orbital base. It made little difference that the finest of humanity's forces, the military orders, the Steel Phalanx, the Hassassin Society, and many other brave men and women were deployed at different critical locations in Durgama because the combined army, with the Marat spearheading the assault, finally assailed the Penny Arcade, at which point all emergency evacuation protocols were activated. As things were unraveling on the Concilium front, O-12 had anticipated this contingency by hiring the Spiral Corps, a mercenary company specializing in the detection of Shasvasti infiltrators, to provide security when the digester was moved to a new classified location. Little did O-12 know that Spiral Corps were double agents. The Triumvirate agent's mission was to seize the alien artifact, but seeing how critical the situation was, they chose to destroy it rather than let it fall into the hands of the EI, even though they knew it would bring about the total annihilation of the planet. However, the courageous interference of Tirlak McMurrow, a freelance mercenary dog warrior, thwarted the plan of the Triumvirate, even though this did not stop the digester from switching into active defense mode and exploding, together with some probes that had been extracted from it and were distributed in several research centers all over Concilium. The massive explosion killed scores of beings and also created the so-called Quantum Anomaly Zones, QAZs. These are areas affected by waves of quantum disturbance that translate into odd phenomena such as alterations in the laws of physics, atmospheric variations, and sightings of unknown alien flora and fauna, all of which occurs at random intervals and with varying intensity. This terrible disaster struck just as the combined army's motherships were hovering in geosynchronous orbit over the major cities of Concilium Prima, like a fearsome sword of Damocles. However, when all seemed lost, in view of O-12's last defiant stand, the EI offered a truce and its assistance to contain the QAZs, averting the destruction of the planet. The advanced technology of the Ur Hegemony could contain the progression of the QAZs, buying some time to find a more effective solution in neutralizing them. Hence, the EI would have another chance to take the Tazeki digester and the probes trapped, or protected depending on who you ask, inside the QAZs. But the EI's cooperation came at a hefty price, as its footholds within the human sphere were to be acknowledged and respected. O12 and the major powers must forfeit all the territories that the combined army had conquered on Paradiso and Concilium Prima and leave the outposts it had built on Dawn and Svalaheimer. Begrudgingly, humankind accepted those terms as a first step toward a lasting peace that could be beneficial to everyone. Meanwhile, on both sides of Daedalus, the Tohaa are busy rebuilding the jump gate facilities in preparation for their return. The military scenario is completely altered now. Raging, unfettered war has given way to political intrigue and covert, small-scale actions to avoid upsetting a delicate balance, since there is a new bully in town now. The most important demand made by the EI, at least for practical purposes, was that the Ur Hegemony should have a seat at any negotiating table where the future of these planets was discussed and be recognized as yet another player in the political arena of the sphere. A sphere that is no longer only human, since clearly the aliens of the combined army and the Tohaa are intent on staying. Whether we humans will let them or whether we will be able to stop them is an entirely different question.